last while. We made it 2 months of Aquarius, and it's all its electricity in the full moon energy of, it reminds me of acupuncture, needles, poke, 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 right? So this time is about where we have to pay attention. So for 60 days, right, 2 full moons in Aquarius, we've gotten to work with this very electrical energy that is forward, that is future, that is invention, and of course applies to our actual lives. Where do we need to be forward? Where do we need to move forward? What needs to change? Which has been, the mantra for the last almost 2 years now. What needs to change? And how can we allow ourselves to change in a graceful, easy, and relaxed manner? I've been teaching in the new moon classes. How do you do it in an easy and relaxed manner? How do you do it? This is really the answer to that. How do you do it without resistance? How do we change without resistance? So it becomes natural. So it becomes our next step, and that's all. And so the energy when you have 2 full moons, which is what a blue moon is, 2 full moons in the same sign. So the first full moon was at 1 degree Aquarius, and today it's at 29 degree Aquarius. It's the last degree of Aquarius. So we've had for 60 days though. So this big period of Aquarian themes, which is the age we're moving into from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, which is a really long 2,000-year cycle, is happening. It's starting. It is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, right? But before that new age can truly emerge, the old systems, the old foundations, the old structures will be changed. Everything, every subject we know, from medicine, and if you think about it, isn't that an interesting subject these days, medicine, right? What is right medicine? What is right healing? What helps? What heals? And it's so up for us in our country, in America, because there's people from other countries here too, but it's up for us of the expense of medicine, what is medicine, how to use medicines, different sorts of different kinds of ways of dealing with medicine. This is just an example, in a way, of the changes of structure, because it's going to affect the finances of the world too. I think of Bitcoin, just as an example of how our monies are changing and how we use. I haven't been to the bank in a year and a half. I used to go to the bank every week, and do something, and we just don't do it anymore because of all of what has changed in our lives. And so what is changing? Everything's changing. Everything's changing. And so if we're in a lot of resistance to that change, then we're going to have a lot more suffering. We're going to have a lot more difficulty in the change. And the more we can move in an easy and relaxed manner, to let go when something wants to release, to just let it go. If something's pulling, give it, rather than resist it. No, not this, I might need this for later or something, it's scary to change, So there's so much to say about change, and I've been talking a lot about it in my other classes too. Just how do we move through these times? In the ashram, I call it, it's still the ashram. We're not really out of it yet. It's all still happening. It's really going to be this whole year. And so with that double Aquarian energy, with all those little acupuncture points, right? All over your body, right? All over your consciousness, things are asking to move. In the Chinese way, unhealth or illness is called stagnation. And that is all. Simply stagnation. Energy not moving, basically, right? And so I love that definition of the chi is sluggish, the chi is slow, or the chi is stagnant. And so the chi is toxic, right? After a while, the body gets toxic. And so we're always trying to keep the flow of energy. So if I'm calling these full moons Aquarian, full moons acupuncture's points, then what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the energy to flow again. We're trying to get it to move again, this sort of dull stagnancy in ourselves, or where we're resisting. And so I guess that's the point, where we're resisting. So there's a lot of good things going on right now, because along with, you know, this call for change that's happening worldwide, and the whole world is going through so many changes. I mean, just we could talk about Afghanistan and what's happening there, or about COVID, or about kids going back to school. From the grand to the mundane, everything is in motion, and everything's sticky, and everything's getting poked with that acupuncture needle of, let's think outside the box. Let's think new thoughts. Let's come up with new ideas. Let's solve this in a different way. I think of health, you know, and psychic health too. Think of health as psychic health, physical health, obviously, but psychic health, think of a Rubik's Cube, right? And we're all our little different Rubik's Cubes, and you gotta find, you know, the right organization and the movements that unlock it or make it match, basically. And I love that imagery of Rubik's Cube, because of course we're all different Rubik's Cubes though. But I was watching this show about how do you solve a Rubik's Cube, and you always, and I'm not going to say this right, so I'm not going to even try, but it says there's always a first movement. You always move something to the left and line it up with the thing, you know, and that's the first thing you do. And it's almost like taking your temperature would be kind of the metaphor of that, or how are you feeling? That's sort of the first move. How are you feeling? And answering that question, because you've got to start somewhere. Talking about healing a lot for some reason tonight, and so it must be up, this idea of what needs to be healed and what's coming up for healing, and what these 2 months have led to for healing. In craniosacral work, which is a beautiful, beautiful, conscious, kind of subtle work with the spine, what is done in that way of feeling finding is you hold the point at the occiput and you hold the point at the coccyx. And there's a lot more to it than what I'm going to say, but this is sort of the control center of the whole thing, is you hold the two opposing points and you start to wait for the pulses, right? So you're waiting for the pulses, and that can take a long time. Sometimes it's so stagnant, the energy's so dull, and there's probably pain and other kinds of symptoms happening, that you just sit there and wait and wait and wait, and then pretty soon, though, after a while, you'll start to feel one of them go. And then what? Not only are you looking for them to go with a pulse, you're trying to get them eventually, which can take a lot of time and finesse of the practitioner. You're looking for a rhythm where they start to go boom, boom, like one, boom, right? They might not be, they're not like that necessarily, but they're boom, like a heartbeat almost of the spine, if you can imagine. And so here you find those 2 points, and then the body responds to that. And it happened to me, so I even know my own experience of having it done to me, and also kind of playing with it myself a little bit. But what happens is the body, in my case, started to move on its own, and they're just holding the points, and my body starts doing something. And as it's doing it, it's kind of winding in, like winding into a coiled kind of position. My neck starts to turn, my head's kind of rotating, my spine's curling this way, and they're just holding the points, right? And then there's a point where it kind of like shimmers, shivers. And for me, in that case, I kind of burst into tears. And what was in those tears was an accident I had when I was a kid. And I remembered, all of a sudden I remembered it fell out of the tree, and you know, I could remember how I fell, and I fell like that. And so then I'm in the shimmering, right? And they've got the 2 points, and my body's kind of jerking weirdly and stuff. And just, this is all very subtle. I'm making it bigger than it looks, but you definitely are winding up. And then you kind of have the release, you let go. And then the body, still them just holding the points, goes, and you're back in alignment again. It unwinds the injury. It unwinds the trauma in the muscle, in the emotion, in the mind, wherever it's trapped, right? So when I'm working with people or bodies, minds, whatever, spirit, I feel like I do something like that. And I just came out of another meditation just a minute ago, and we were talking about the highest and the lowest. And I realized that I'm talking about this same technique on the horizontal plane with the physical bodies as what we were doing on the vertical plane with spirit, to touch the highest point to the lowest point, and then see what happens, see how it moves, see how it realigns between those 2 points of the highest and the lowest. So when there's a full moon, what happens is the energy of the full moon's coming down, and all that intentionality of sort of cosmic intentionality, and our energy is going up, lifting up, and where those two meet, right, is where the little nexus is, where the exchange gets made. And so that's what we're going to do when we're meditating, is we're going to make this exchange where we're the most receptive to this downflow of energy that's coming through and in. It's really exciting and it's powerful. And I really recommend meditating these days. I always recommend meditating, but I'm really, I've talked to so many people that are so stressed out, and then I ask, "Are you been meditating?" Going, "Well, no." And if there's a time to meditate, it's now. Meditation works when you use it, and it's not a theory. It's an action. So you have to sort of engage. And so I love the full moons, because what happens is at least there's a way to connect to something that you can know by the clock in the sky, that a lot of people are meditating at the same time around the world, which is so powerful. And you can hook into that energy and get yourself retuned to that bigger energy, and it might get you going for the rest of the month to stay meditating, So I really encourage you to work with that every day. Just touch it for, even if it's 5 breaths, 10 breaths, whatever you can do that you will do. Just give yourself that little small gift to your life to keep your balance, to keep your lighthouse, light bulb clean. So you're kind of cleaning off the glass so that the lens is not obscuring the light that's trying to come through. The other thing is, on these times of Aquarian energies, we're talking about group work, group energy, and group endeavor, which is a principle. And when you use these energies together like this, you get a more powerful meditation personally, and you create a wave response out that moves and affects everything and everyone. And so when we work together in this way as sort of a integrated, tuned instrument, almost like, think of a symphony where all the instruments are tuning to the one note, everybody tunes to it, and then they play, right? It's like we're tuning to the one note, and then we're going to go play. We're going to go out into the world. We're going to go back out into the experiences of our life, but we're going to be in tune. And so there's a way to consciously do that by meditation, where nothing's quite like that. There's really nothing that does that, not in a group energy. And when it's the full moon, there's, millions of people meditating around the world, and that consciousness keeps getting more. When I first started teaching meditation, 40 something years ago, there weren't that many people I knew that meditated. There weren't, I was teaching yoga at the time. There was like 20 yoga teachers in Los Angeles, which is amazing to think of. Now there's 20,000, I think, right? Which is wonderful, because all that, right? But in those days, there wasn't a lot of people knowing this. We'd all go to the Bodhi tree. That was the only store that you could get metaphysical books, and we were reading everything we could get our hands on and all of that. But now it's just almost in the common bank. We're all reading books like that. We're all thinking things like that. And even though, of course, there's a lot of division in the world right now, it's because the consciousness is rising. and raising in frequency, that of course sort of an equal amount of opposite energy meets that, right? It has to be. And so all we're trying to do is to see something through. And what we're trying to see through is not an agenda, it's love. It's awareness, right? It's consciousness. It's how can I help? What can I do? What can I offer? What do I have to offer? And we all have things, many things to offer. And we all might have specifically amazing things to offer. But we all have all kinds of things to offer. From the smallest thing like picking up the trash in the street on your walk, those kinds of things. Or, helping something happen in the world that changes it a little bit, where the oceans get cleaned a little more or something. And all of this is our collective awareness. So, because we're all connected when two or more are gathered, you get this bigger pulse that goes out, and the ripple is a bigger one. And we're all connected together. And what's nice is because pretty much people that are knowing about full moon work are spiritual. And so no matter what their kind of spirituality might be, what style they use, whether it be, Christianity and mysticism within Judaism and Kabbalah, or if it's, transcendental meditation, or it's just conscious souls that don't even have anything, they don't even know what they believe, but they are conscious, which there's lots of people like that. There's a thrum, like an ohm in the universe that people can connect to with us. They feel it, just like you felt it somewhere along the way on your path. You felt yourself being attracted to something, your first yoga class or your first meditation or some teacher that you loved that inspired you, and you're like that person. And you read everything, or you listened to everything, or you were with that person in some way, if you were able to be with that person, which is even more amazing, to be actually to be in physical contact with a teacher like that. So that happens all the time. And so those callings, those light to light, like attracts like, right? We find them out in our world like little star points that are like, make a constellation, that you're connecting the dots of your life, is that this thing leads to this thing that leads to this thing. And that's the Rubik's Cube. Click, it opens, or it lines up, or how you want to say it. So maybe a better metaphor is a master lock, that's got a very complex code, right? That's got, 20 codes to dial in, and in a very particular order, holding the points, right? And the thing begins to unwind, 14 to the left, 22 to the right, and you keep going, and it's, 20 codes deep, and all of a sudden, click, it opens. That's us. And everywhere along the way, we're opening a little more, and we're closer to that, whatever that opening might be, I guess, enlightenment, right? Where you're just knowing that all is well, where you're knowing the order, the divine order of the universe, you're knowing it as a fact, as your breath, right? That would be full enlightenment maybe, right? But it happens over time, and it happens gradually. We need to have some way, some process, right, to allow that experience to happen into, which is meditation. So one of the things I wanted to bring into this meditation is, because it's been 2 months, is what subject has come up for you these last 2 months? If you think back on this whole last period in Aquarius, what's getting an acupuncture needle? What is the subject that is trying to be healing, trying to not be stagnant, trying to get refreshed, trying to reboot? And when we go into meditation, that's going to be a question I'm going to ask inside of it. And you might have an answer right now, actually, already. Because, oh, definitely it was this, I was definitely working on this. But in your meditation, it can change completely, or it may stay exactly the same. And it might be more than one thing. But they probably interconnect, is my guess. So when you're in there, we're going to sort of ask, like, what are you better understand about this subject that is being birthed, healed in these last 2 months. Because, tomorrow, the full moon is exact at 5:01 a.m. So right at the bright part of the early morning. And 7 hours later, the sun moves into Virgo. See, because it's at 29, so it's 1 more degree, it's going to pop over. So at 7.5, like at 2:35 or something like that, something like 2:30, the sun moves into Virgo. So we're going to have a whole new energy stream. It's been Leo, right? 2 months in the solar Leo, but then 2 months in lunar Aquarius, going into the sun, moving into Virgo tomorrow. So like 7 hours right after. So that's also intense, because what that means is we're at a nexus. We're really at a nexus. And I'm wondering that maybe inside this meditation that you could really do some work inside of it. Like really go in with that precision, right? Like an acupuncture needle, and see what wants your attention, or what needs to stream, or what needs to open. Because what if tomorrow afternoon you've got a whole new kind of attitude about everything? Like you're really and truly psychically and physically and psychologically refreshed, because you go, I get it. I know what to do because I get it, right? So that's what I'm hoping for on this full moon meditation, on this blue full moon meditation. So Aquarius is about connectivity. It's about things that are interrelated, like the internet, which is the best example of Aquarian energy that is right now, that we can all look at and we all use. So, but interconnectivity in a kind of disconnected time, So there's this stress of like tectonic plates, right? That create this tension as they go against each other, right? That cause actions on the land. These tectonic plates aren't quite in harmony. They're not quite, because they're kind of coming at angles to each other, of this interconnectivity, of this desire to come into this Aquarian consciousness, or this bigger mind, all of us, one for all and all for one kind of consciousness worldwide, right? Against a lot of disconnectivity, right? No, walls of no are everywhere you look, right? So that's another thing that might be coming up for you in your life, or within your groups around you, in your work or family or places like that, where you might be, or just seeing as you look around the world or on the news, you're seeing these kind of disconnected sort of things that are happening. And how do you still hold any way for the greater good, no matter what's in front of you, right? That's the work of that conscious work, to be in service, to be of service. So I think this is a good place to go into the meditation. So if you have a candle, you can light it, or you can mentally light a candle in your mind. I like to light one just physically if I have one, symbolic of the ritual, seventh ray, you guys that know rays. This is a seventh ray thing, to light a candle, And get yourself comfortable. Feel that calm of your intention begin to permeate the being, that I and the soul are one. And you begin to make those conscious connections with the soul and the self by your breath. And I think I'm going to a little bit start with some of what we were talking about earlier, of the highest and the lowest energy, to connect those up. I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I did before. But just from your head center, take your seat, which is in it's called the cave, in the center of the head. And it's also the third eye point is on the front of that, and within that is the cave center. And the color associated with the cave center is violet, and with the head center in general. And so you sort of take your seat there as consciousness, So all the things of the world right now, things that happen, things that have been happening, things you have to do later, you're just putting all of that down for the moment and letting yourself be soul directed. And you use your breath at first because the breath is the bridge between the soul and the self in the physical experience, right? So you use the breath to create interconnectivity, soul with self. Interconnectivity and inner connectivity, soul with self. And from that point, just gently breathing, like imagine butterfly wings here, opening and closing really slowly, slow motion. And just feeling kind of the radiance of your clear consciousness, of your consciousness that is not mired by things. Just free, clear consciousness, clarified consciousness. And you just feel that kind of gentle opening and closing of those butterfly wings in the head center. And know yourself as a conscious being. I am conscious soul in form. I am conscious soul in form. From this point, sense that all that isness of universal love as a presence. As an awareness in its own right, but very different than ours, because it's really big awareness. And feel the 2 points of the highest and the lowest. And you feel that receptivity and reciprocity of these, the highest thing you can hold as pure light, as pure consciousness, to the physical experience of this life. And see if you can hold those 2 points, like that cranial sacral work. And just hold and hold. And in this space, just begin to know, not think, know things past your thinking. What is love? What is peace? What is pure awareness? What is light? No words, just sense the answers that yourself does know. What is healing? What is forgiveness? What is compassion? No thought, just knowing, just understanding. There's no test or answer you have to speak, but allow yourself, as you hold the 2 points, highest and the lowest, meet as awareness in you. And then in that increased light, in that increased breath, in that increased spaciousness, remember recognize your soul within this point of balance that has an outlet in both directions, up and down, that translates these abstract energies into the self as ideas and thought forms and healings and understandings and forgivenesses and awarenesses. And within that, we'll say a seed thought just for some moments now in the silence. I am in harmony with my soul. I am in harmony with my life. I am in harmony with my world. Sensing the points. Holding that big world of awareness. And just as a practice within this wide open space, play with the question in this spaciousness. What has been coming up in these last 2 months for review, for deeper understanding, for more awareness about, for deepening, for healing? What is the subject in that great big space between the highest and the lowest, with the soul as the translator? Sense what it is. Right. And as you are understanding the subject matter, that is matter realizing, materializing, as you sense that subject matter, still inside the space of the 2 points, sense what would help to understand about this now. What would help to know about this subject matter now? Hold the field wide, as high as you can reach, as high as you can reach energetically. Still stationed in your head center, as high as you can reach. And you'll recognize it because it feels like love. You'll recognize it because it will feel like relief. And in the moment that that relief and love happens, the body is already changing, the mind is already changing, the atoms of your body are already changing, your DNA is already changing. Holding those 2 points, holding those 2 points. We have more access. And just in that realization state, just receive this answer as an answer and as a gift and as a new way of looking at something and a think outside the box kind of solution. To have new eyes to this that seek and find, that do heal, that does resolve in our own personal lives, but in the world life too. And inside that, resist it not. Receive this awareness as what you are knowing, as a spiritual fact, as an energetic fact. Like a rung on a ladder, it's there. You can go forward or backward on it. It's there. Energetic fact. Good, and then just allowing all of this to begin to dissolve into your mind and thinking, into your brain as ideas and thought forms, realizations and inspirations, into your body, into your cellular memory, into all the fields of the body and the self, into your heart. Feeling yourself present. Breathing gently with those butterfly wings. So softly moving. As your body integrates all of this into the forms of our life, into the art of our life, into the experiences of our life, into the way that the world emerges and we emerge. And just feel that healing that takes place when you know, soul love, soul light, soul awareness, and our interconnectivity with each other. So land back into your heart now, into the heart chakra, and gently breathing there. Feeling the group around the world, all this awareness, all this consciousness, interconnected, harmonized, attuned together by a breath. As you begin to gently transition out of this meditation when you're ready to. Good. Nice work. good energy. Send a blessing to the world in your half in, half out state. Just bless the world. It needs it. It receives it. It doesn't interfere with it. It really takes it. All the trees, all the mountains, all the people, all the animals, everything, every being, all blessings to all beings. I am in harmony with my soul. I am in harmony with my life. I am in harmony with the world. There's big energy going, you can feel. There's a lot to manage right now, and there's been a lot to manage. And you're doing it, right? So you keep your balance, right? You just keep keeping your balance, keep coming back to your meditations, keep checking back in. How are you? How are you? How are you? Don't be afraid of any change, right? Just let it move. Let things move within you and without you. So let's see, the next full moon is September 20th, which is a Monday. I think I'm going to do it on a Monday too because it's around 6 o'clock. So I'll probably do it that evening, Monday, September 20th, the day before the autumnal equinox. So that'll be powerful too. So I hope to see you there. I'd love to hear your comments and anything you might want to share about it. And this is a free given out from my heart, because it's my favorite subject, of course. It is truly the thing that makes me live and breathe. And so I love to share it, and please do, and I hope you will, keep meditating on your own through the month. And this year, as it's a lot going on, So everybody's doing good. And I will see you next time. We're having a new moon class too in a couple of weeks, so you can watch your emails for that. And otherwise, I'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.